Live from Lot R at Nissan Stadium, it is Titan Game Day morning, evening edition.
Sure.
Luke Worsham, Titans reporter for A to Z Sports.com, here for the first time this season with Buck Rising for the entirety of our show today. Again, we're live from Lot R at the Gary Ashton Remax Advantage tailgate. Come say hi to us. We are right outside Nissan Stadium, where in just over 2 hours, the Tennessee Titans will take on the number one offense and the number one defense in the NFL in the Buffalo Bills. We are brought to you on Titan Game Day morning/evening live by Two Rivers Ford, by the Gary Ashton team at Remax Advantage, and by DraftKings Sportsbook. Good evening, Buck Rising.
What's going on, my buddy? It's good to be back here at the Gary Ashton tailgate. It's been a minute since we've been able to do one of these in person. But before we get things going, because Luke's got his keys to the game, he's going to blow you away with this Titans-Bills analysis. Need you guys to share this show around wherever you're watching. If you're on Twitter, retweet the show just like I did. If you're hanging out on Facebook Live, you can share now to public, very simple, bottom left-hand corner of your screen. If you're on YouTube or on Twitch, please subscribe so you can see Luke every Sunday, so you can hang out with Austin and Zach in the morning. You can get your live stream content in the Nashville area delivered directly to you.
Let's talk about what we're going to be doing tonight on Titan Game Day evening live. We will be going over 3 keys to the game, as we do each and every week on this show. We will then be breaking down a best bet of the game that is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbooks. Let's get into it. Let's start with key number 1 for a Titans victory. My first key for the Titans tonight is to get the star players involved on offense. All offseason, after the Julio Jones trade, after we knew who Derrick Henry was, we knew who A.J. Brown was, what was the catchphrase we kept hearing with this offense?
No.
Pick your poison.
Pick your poison.
Right?
That's exactly right.
Have we seen that yet?
Not
this
yet.
year?
In fact, it's been more toxic than it has been pick your poison, because what they've been able to do without their full complement of skill position players, it's been pretty limited so far.
Well, the good news is that they will have that full complement of skill position players tonight. A.J. Brown, who had a bit of a scare yesterday. I've seen some people maybe had food poisoning. He put out this weird tweet about never going to eat fast food again.
Too much chicken on a stick in Oxford, Mississippi. I guess I'm kidding. He didn't go watch the Tennessee Ole Miss game in Oxford, but that's what they have down there.
Maybe he went and got a cheesy dog at that 7-Eleven by the Titans facility.
Have you done that before?
Not the cheesy dog. I've gotten the regular dog.
That's
before.
disgusting. Do better.
But that's a key, I think, for the Titans tonight is you have A.J. Brown fully healthy. You have Julio Jones back after a full week of practice. And, of course, you have Derrick Henry. This needs to be the night against the juggernaut of the AFC, who dismantled the Kansas City Chiefs 8 days ago. Get the best players involved. I'm so tired of this subbing in and out on offense and them acting like no player is better than another player. I know they don't actually think that, but sometimes they act that way. When they're in the red zone tonight, I don't want to see Chester Rogers and Nick Westbrook out there. I want to see the best of the best, and I want to see them actually using those guys tonight.
Well, and honestly, if they had been without A.J. Brown, it's clear or confirmed now that he'll end up playing, and Julio Jones told us Friday that he would be involved as well. They have Marcus Johnson, which honestly made me feel a hell of a lot better about their skill position group after we saw him convert critical third downs in Jacksonville against the Jags. So listen, it's nobody. This is why this team is so frustrating, not just for media, but for fans as well. It's because we're in week 6 of the NFL season, and you don't know what the hell they are. Just yet. So now maybe we'll have the opportunity to see that full complement of weapons, to see Ryan Tannehill with a little more time, or at least, if not more time, more separation, because this is probably the best defensive front that they'll see outside of the New York Jets.
While we're on the big-time offensive skill players, what do you make of what happened on Friday after practice with Vrabel and Julio Jones talking about the injury? Julio seeming as though he didn't know what people were talking about. Maybe he was being coy. I don't know. What was your takeaway from all that?
I think he was being pretty coy. He kept looking over and smiling at us every time we'd ask him about something. John Glennon was the person who asked about specifically the hamstring, and Julio said, wait, hamstring? No, just tightness, and then smiled. So, I know for a fact that Mike Vrabel chewed all of those guys out collectively after Bud Dupree had his tell-all about how he's rushed himself back too soon. God forbid that happen, but that's the rules within the Titans facility. So really more just him being coy and Mike Vrabel playing the same game that he does.
You know what Mike Vrabel needs to be concerned about tonight is actually reporting injuries when they happen in a game, because I think we're at 4 or 5 now that
They're
have not
skirting.
happened. They're getting eerily close. We talked about this on the 615 sessions.
Yeah.
They're getting very, very close to fine territory with all of that.
Yeah, 100%. And listen, it's all good unless you get caught, right? Bill Belichick will tell you that exact same thing. Mike Vrabel has spent enough time learning from that school of thought, if not being a direct descendant of the tree. Shout out Brian Flores for all the good that seems to be doing him in Miami. But I'll say to you that it's going to be a really, really important moment for the team to not just get through this game, but to stay healthy on the other side of it, because it's not just the Buffalo Bills. It's the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the Indianapolis Colts. And we know for at least those 3 games, including tonight, they'll be without their best corner, Christian Fulton.
So key number 1 is deploy that pick your poison offense for the first time this season. Let's see the Titans' best offensive players actually get the workload that they deserve. Titan Game Day morning/evening live here from Lot R at Nissan Stadium ahead of Monday Night Football, Titans versus Bills. I'm Luke Worsham, Titans reporter for A to Z Sports, hanging out with Buck Rising. And we are brought to you this evening by Two Rivers Ford, Remax Advantage, and DraftKings Sportsbook. Let me tell you about our friends at Two Rivers Ford. We talk about this every week with Two Rivers Ford, the fact that they have non-commissioned salespeople. And that's my favorite thing about Two Rivers Ford, because you know what you get with commissioned salespeople? You get pestered, you get annoyed, and you get pressured into doing something that you don't necessarily feel comfortable doing. And I'm someone that is very strict and very, careful with finances.
You should be.
And I don't like being pressured into something. I don't like not having the time to sit and think because I've got someone breathing down my shoulder. That's not the experience you're going to get by going to Two Rivers Ford. If you're looking to buy a car and you're worried about getting that experience, then don't worry about that. Go to Two Rivers Ford, because they're going to give you a pressure-free buying experience. And if you're in the middle of that buying experience and there's a particular model or color that you want that they don't have on the lot, they will order it custom for you. That is the Two Rivers Ford guarantee. So give Two Rivers Ford a call, 800-900-1000. Key number 2 to a Titans victory tonight against the Buffalo Bills. Also, on the offensive side of the ball, they got to keep Ryan Tannehill upright.
He's been sacked 20 times this season. Last season, as you've well heard, he's only been sacked, or was only sacked 25. They haven't been able to keep the offensive line healthy as a unit. And low-key, and I don't give credit unless it's due, Luke will accuse me of being an apologist, but Taylor Lewan-Sneaky had a pretty good 3 games the past couple of weeks. He has performed much better and is typically the custom when he has one of these mea culpas that seems to come at least once a year with Taylor. But to keep Roger Saffold on the field is going to be critical. To keep Ben Jones on the field is going to be critical, because we know that Ty Sambrailo, retired earlier this week, and they are without their best swing tackle at this point. Not only is Caleb Farley going to be tossed into the mix tonight, it's going to be Dylan Radins as well if they require his services.
You talk about needing to keep Saffold and Ben Jones, guys who haven't finished games always throughout the season in the game. You know what they need to keep in the game is Ryan Tannehill.
Yeah, that's important.
Because if this keeps up, we're going to see Logan Woodside before very long. Because even when Tannehill isn't getting sacked, he's getting speared in the back and in the ribs, and it's not going to last very much longer. It has nothing to do with toughness or being injury prone. Eventually, you keep taking those kind of hits, it's going to take a toll, and you're not going to be able to play anymore.
Well, and the difference is now when he's getting rocked, he's not completing passes. It's just that fraction of a second difference between him ripping a ball to Adam Humphries in the back of the end zone against the Kansas City Chiefs in Week 10 in 2019, while some dude's stuck in his face mask, to now he's just not getting that extra fraction of a second, and it makes the quarterback look worse. He has to be aware of the difficulties. I appreciate his confidence in his teammates. It's not necessarily warranted to this point in the season. If the pass is not there, check it down or throw it away. This is something that is very, very incumbent upon Ryan Tannehill to execute.
And let's be frank, this is the reason why the Titans offense has looked so uncohesive and clunky so far throughout the season, is because they can't do anything. They can't call anything. The play action works, I guess, the few times they run it, but they're constantly in these 2nd and 15, 3rd and 14 situations, so you're not running your normal offense. And even when you do get into, say, 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, you're scared to death that you're only going to have half a second to get rid of the football. And even Julio Jones didn't get into the line of gain in that little bit of time.
No, but he's getting more separation than Nick Westbrook-Akina.
That's obviously true.
Or Chester Rogers. And really, those fractions of a second, those inches of difference, especially for somebody instead of Josh Reynolds trying to make those plays, trying to make those contested catches, now in theory you'll have Julio Jones for the majority of this game. We'll see whether he's on a snap count, though, as A.J. Brown was last week in Jacksonville.
But if this looks like it has for the last 2 weeks against Jacksonville and New York, who, despite their many flaws, do have talented pass rushers, John Franklin Myers, Josh Allen,
Sure.
players that can get after the quarterback. But the Bills are the number one defense, and if that keeps up, it's not going to be very pretty.
No.
Tonight.
I mean, and they've been where the Titans have dipped the most is in red zone execution. That was their bread and butter. They've been the best in the sport since Ryan Tannehill was inserted into the starting lineup.
And that's where the weapons come into play.
Right, and we'll see. I mean, listen, they were getting the ball down the field fine against the Jets. It's just they stalled out in the red zone because, again, those fractions of a second, those red zone separation, and then you have no margin for error when Aaron Brewer's snap goes over the head of Ryan Tannehill.
Titan Game Day evening live here from Lot R at Nissan Stadium, going through our 3 keys to a Titans win on Monday Night Football against the New York Jets. Before we get into key number 3, we're going to swap sides of the ball. We're going to talk about the defense with key number 3. Before we get into that, I want to talk to you about our friend Gary Ashton. You see his face right behind us, and his team with RE/MAX Advantage, because the real estate market in Nashville right now is absolutely on fire. It's extremely competitive. And because of both of those things, because it's competitive, you want to give yourself the best possible competitive advantage if you are going to be buying or selling a home. And to get that best competitive advantage, Gary Ashton is the person you need to talk to. Gary has experience in the Nashville real estate market. He has the resources, and he has the intel. Gary's catchphrase is always right, don't sell without the intel.
Indeed.
And no one has better intel than Gary Ashton because of his experience, because of his resources. Gary Ashton can allow you to get your dream address without the stress. So whether you're buying, whether you're selling a home in the Nashville area, give Gary Ashton a shout by going to GaryAshton.com.
And what I'll say about Gary and his intel, I use the Ashton real estate team. They're the official real estate agent of the Tennessee Titans. We're at the Ashton tailgate. If you're coming off the pedestrian bridge, stop by. They've got food, they've got drinks, they've got cornhole. Now, Gary probably could have used just a bit better intel himself to tell him that he was going to get stuck in traffic on his way over here, because normally Gary joins us. He's just texted me he was caught in the same thing that we were coming in. A lot of Bills fans.
How long did it take you to get here?
I live literally 5 minutes away. I think it's less than a mile. It took me 25 minutes.
I live on 12th Avenue, and it took me about 35.
Luke, first rule of broadcasting, don't tell people where you live, because when you have a bad take, they'll find you.
12th Avenue is a long street, bud.
We'll find out.
Titan Game Day morning, evening. Key number 3, no more weenie defense for the Titans.
Weenie defense.
I'm so tired of the weenie. That's the clean version. I could use another word that's probably a little more PG-13. No more weenie defense. Mike Vrabel loves to talk a big game about fast and aggressive on defense. And consistently, that is not how they play. Even when they play well, it's sort of the bend, don't break. We're going to play off coverage. We're not going to blitz. That cannot happen tonight, because if the Buffalo Bills are in 3rd down and 14 even, and you send a 3-man rush with off coverage, you're getting killed.
Sir, your thoughts?
Buffalo's just awesome.
Bills fans running around out here. Yeah, listen, the defense has to be improved. It's not just explosive plays that they're giving up in the passing game. Rashaan Evans or somebody, depending on the play call, gave up an explosive run to James Robinson. The Jags clearly had identified something on the left side of the Titans defense that they were exploiting over and over and over again, and set up a dive right, scored a touchdown. They have to be sound. They have to be disciplined, because if they're going to be problems in the secondary, and you may just have to accept that there are going to be some problems in the secondary. We'll see what kind of preparation and how ready Caleb Farley actually is. You have to rely on your gap integrity up front to limit these explosive plays. If you're going to get gashed through the air, it can't happen on the ground too.
Josh Allen is playing incredibly well against strong defenses. What do they think is going to happen? I'm not saying they're going to do this, but if they end up doing the weenie defense, what do they think is going to happen, giving Josh Allen easy access throws and all this time back in the pocket, because they're just playing back and letting him do whatever he wants?
Oh, they know what'll happen. It'll look like it did in Kansas City not just a little over a week ago, where they end up smothering the Chiefs, and they're just going to do it differently. Instead of 2 safety shell looks, they'll be playing a safety down in the box. They won't necessarily fear the Titans passing game, because you'll remember Tre'Davious White, who was playing in this game, was out with a back injury on that Tuesday night football game. He's going to be ready for A.J. Brown or Julio Jones. They're going to have to adjust, and specifically it's because we talked to Harold Landry, Luke, this week on Friday about, another mobile quarterback. Well, that's the standard. Josh Allen and Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson and all of these new age quarterbacks, they're the standard. Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, they all can move.
The counter to that is, who is the not mobile quarterback starting in the NFL? Ben Roethlisberger?
Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, and then there's only one Tom Brady, so you can only survive that way that long. This is an adaptation that every NFL team is going to have to make. It's why when Jeff Simmons was talking to us week one about capture, not kill Kyler Murray, those same principles apply, even if the genetics of the two are very, very different.
How about they just kill? Can they just kill?
Listen,
because they didn't capture in week one.
No,
so
but
killing.
They've been consistently better. And I know nobody wants to hear about pressures over sacks, but you should, because it's a smarter way to evaluate the pass rush. An incompletion is almost as good a win as a sack.
Let me say this about pressures versus sacks, okay? Pressures is a good way to evaluate a pass rusher. Is that pass rusher making an impact?
Yes.
Pressure is not how you evaluate a pass rush.
Yes. That's a very, very important clarification.
Because if you're not getting sacks, pressures don't matter.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's true.
You mentioned Julio Jones. That's a nice segue into our best bet of the game here on Titan Game Day evening. I'm Luke Worsham, Titans reporter for A to Z Sports, joined by Buck Rising, ahead of Titans versus Bills on Monday Night Football. Our best bet of the game tonight is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook. And right now they've got a great deal going on for you at DraftKings.com/sportsbook. You give them the promo code A to Z Sports. Here's what they'll give you. Put a $5 bet on any NBA team to win straight up tonight. And if that NBA team wins, that $5 becomes $200 in free bets. It's a great deal for you to take advantage of tonight. Be sure to go do that. Maybe you want to use those $200 in free bets on our best bet, which we will explain to you in just 1 second. But first, I need to remind you that you must be 21 years or older and present in Tennessee to bet. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text the Tennessee Red Line at 1-800-889-9789.
I'm like a proud dad when he does that. It's fantastic. I'm proud of you. You're the only person I know that's printing stuff out. You're like my parents in MapQuest.
All right. Our best bet of the night. Julio Jones over 48.5 receiving yards.
Ooh, spicy, because he had, 52 against Seattle? No, he had a 50-yard catch.
He had well over 100.
He had well over 100. I was mistaking that one explosive
And he should have had
play.
even more over 100 if that bogus back of the end zone no call.
Well, there is that. Listen, Vols fans don't want to hear about officiating tonight. What I will say to you, Gary Ashton finally made it through traffic. Perfect timing. Gary makes it to the Gary Ashton tailgate. I'm sure we'll catch up with him in a little bit. That's outstanding. I love these drive-bys that people are doing today. This is great stuff. Yes, with the situation with Julio Jones, I would say that is a safe bet, but I would also tell you that he's going to be the focal point. So if Julio doesn't eat, it's because somebody else is taking advantage of the attention that he's going to attract.
And that someone else, if anybody, needs to be A.J. Brown.
That would be ideal.
I don't want to see 9 targets to Chester Rogers tonight.
Well,
Chester Rogers is a fine role player.
Buddy, you may. If Chester Rogers' average depth of target is like 5 yards out and this man's got to get rid of the ball, you have to understand what kind of offensive line they're working with.
Do you think Julio Jones is going to get a full throttle workload, or is it going to be like this mysterious A.J. Brown pitch count, whatever?
I bet it's more like A.J. I really do, especially given the slate that they have. They're just trying to get to Indianapolis because they have to win that game. They absolutely have to win that game. Indy's stretch, obviously winnable, given that they got one over on the Texans yesterday. It's a pretty soft next 3 for them. You have to get all of your weapons ready for the divisional games. I understand that Kansas City and Buffalo are the eye candy, but there has to be an emphasis on that.
You are right about that, because if they go 2 up on Indianapolis, if they end up sweeping them like that, we talked about here in week 3 that they could win the division in week 3 or week 2 against the Indianapolis Colts. When was that? Was that week 3?
That sounds right.
Week 3.
That sounds right.
Week 2.
Yeah, because there's only been 2 home games, right?
That's right. Yeah, this is number 3.
Yep.
Arizona, disaster.
Yep.
Win against the Colts, and now tonight.
Good job, the Titans reporter. Remember the schedule. Let's go.
Now, what I can't do is Austin Stanley, you can go ask him final scores from last year's games, and he will go through them and give you the final score.
No, he's sick. We need to do
I
something
cannot do
about
that.
No, I just There's so many other things to remember, not those.
I don't like score predictions.
Uh-oh.
But give me your gut feeling about the game tonight without a score.
Give me 34-28.
Oh, so you're going with a score. Okay.
I'm sorry. I must have misheard the question.
Yeah, I don't need a score.
Gut feeling, no. Gut feeling tells me that the Buffalo Bills win this game because the Titans would have to play a perfect game. They would have to cause Buffalo to play an imperfect game. Turnovers are going to be critical, defensive stops. And at this point, we have not yet seen it to this point. That doesn't mean that we can't learn, as I said, and as Luke said, a whole lot about this particular football team tonight because this is the closest thing to full go that we've seen all season long.
I think this is a team that knows how to win games. Specifically, they know how to win big games. And I wrote about this in my column last week. Under Mike Vrabel, the Titans have always looked really good against the good teams and have looked sort of average against bad teams. Sometimes they lose those situations, sometimes they win, but that's been the formula. Week 1 against the Cardinals, I'm going to throw out as a wash because it was week 1.
Week 1 is weird.
But week 2 against Seattle, we saw it. They rose to the occasion against a talented team. And now coming in against the Buffalo Bills, I could absolutely see them doing that again. And I think getting your weapons back, I'm going to do something that got me in trouble with the Bussin' with the Boys Mafia. I trust Mike Vrabel tonight. I trust Mike Vrabel and the Titans to get the job done in this game. I definitely trust that it's not going to be a blowout. It's not going to look like Arizona in week 1. But I think the Titans can come out and win this game. I really do.
I mean, listen, every time they're doubted, they rise to the occasion unless it's the Green Bay Packers, because the Green Bay Packers did overwhelm them. That's really that and the Arizona game are the only 2 blowouts that I can think of under Mike Vrabel at this point in his tenure. So what I'll say to you is they are as close to fully equipped as they're going to get. This is going to be the best possible shot that they have against Buffalo. If they maximize their opportunities, there will be a lot of grateful fans in the stands. And more importantly, if you're a Titans fan, a lot of sad Buffalo fans heading out to Broadway to drink our city's booze and fill our pockets. We thank you for your business,
When
Buffalo.
they traded for Julio Jones, I got really excited at the potential of getting to watch him play every week. Hadn't really gotten that so far. You got it in Seattle.
You should have come to Seattle.
But me at the 2 home games, I haven't really seen it. So I would love nothing more than to watch a star player feast.
So what did we learn? That Luke Worsham selfishly wants the Titans to win, so now he can be the hero, or bury Mike Vrabel if they lose. And 2, he selfishly wants to watch Julio Jones because he hasn't had the opportunity to see him in a game yet. We're learning a lot about Luke Worsham in these 27 minutes.
Well, if I will be burying Mike Vrabel, that will be happening on A2ZSports.com after the game. So be sure to head there for my post-game column, for Buck's post-game reaction. No primetime tonight.
No primetime tonight.
But you will have the pre-halftime and post-game shows with Austin and Zach live at the mainstay. So if you're not coming to the game, go head over there. It's literally like right in that direction, I think.
It is.
So they'll be having fun. And then in the morning, for the first time ever, I will be reacting with Zach Bingham to this Titans win on the morning show. That should be spicy.
Well, if you can handle Cocaine Isaac after a win or a loss, then you can handle anything. Godspeed, my friend.
Enjoy the game, everyone. We'll see you next time.
Take it easy.